Hi, everybody. This is Tom with Culture Chap. So today I wanted to talk about tiny chores. What I mean is, do you think that your other theaters in your area or outside your area are competition? They're not. People that get excited about theater, they will go to theater in lots of different areas. Now, what I'm talking about is sort of an increase in commuting and traffic in certain areas. Where I come from in San Francisco, the city I come from is at the end of a peninsula, okay? And what feeds into this peninsula is basically Silicon Valley, which, as most of you know, has exploded. Now, I don't live there now because prices have changed radically. I live in another city, in another state. And I travel to other countries also to work as a director. So a lot of the places I go, the theaters are in main cities. So that's where the majority of theaters are. That's where a lot more people are, and there's a lot more cash. And even the people from the outskirts of these cities are going into these cities for a day out, and they have an evening show or an afternoon show. But there is a lot of issue. Let's just take San Francisco. There is a lot of issue now with what used to be a 30-minute drive or a 40-minute drive, which was not a big deal, which now takes 2 hours because of the congestion. San Francisco, if you're coming from the north or the east, can only be achieved by getting there through bridges, which become a bottleneck. And the bottleneck used to be just at certain hours, and now they're 3 hours a day. So people aren't going to shows in those larger cities. So I'm going to take an example. There was a show I wanted to do about a Japanese internment camp survivor. It's a wonderful show. It's a one-person show. And my suggestion to the writer, who also holds the rights, which is nice, the playwright holding the rights, not having to go through a licensing company, I said, there is a whole group of people outside these main cities, Berkeley and San Francisco, where the show had played, that didn't get to see this show. And I would like to take it to this city outside, an hour outside and so forth. But the problem was the show was an equity show that still had a lot of life in it as a, let's say, A-list theater, larger theaters, and a possible Broadway run. And the places that I was proposing were not equity theaters. And also, there was the question of, in those areas, is there enough interest? Well, yes. The person was a Japanese internment camp survivor in the United States, and there are a lot of people that don't live in the main cities anymore. And World War II was a long time ago, and those people are not as mobile as they once were. They don't have a day out in the city where they go do this, they go do that. And because of traffic and parking lots in those cities, there really isn't an adjacent parking lot to the theater. They have to walk. Or because of their disabilities or just the fact that they're slowing down, they have to be dropped off in front of the theater while someone goes and finds parking and can't assist them. Also, a lot of these theaters do not open their lobbies until a half an hour before the show. There's another video about that, about bad winters and opening your lobbies earlier. You'll see that on my channel. Open your lobbies earlier. And what does this mean? And parking is expensive in the city, the gas, the time to get into the city, the time to leave the city, the bottlenecks in, the bottlenecks out. It's a lot more effort than people think than just, I'll go to the theater. So I felt that doing them in these other cities an hour away would be lucrative, but there were no equity theaters. And so I didn't get to do this show. That's fine. I respect the playwright for what they wanted to do with their play, the life of their play, and it may not make it to regional non-equity theaters for another 10 years or 12 years or ever, which is too bad because the people that were part of this are very old. They wanted to see this play, but they couldn't. And there was no video of this play, so they couldn't see that either. She did let me do a reading of this play, which they came to in droves, which was fantastic. But it still wasn't enough to convince her to let me do it. Fine, I'm not bitter. This is happening all over the world. There are plays and musicals that are being done in certain places, but not others. There are plays that are being done in main cities and never make it to the suburbs or another city, or even a half hour or 30 minutes away. I, of course, showed you my area of the world where I started, which is just a large peninsula with a very popular city globally, with now a very popular Silicon Valley. This is not everywhere, but in the UK, in Spain, in France, in Australia even, there are a lot of little theaters or smaller theaters that are in the suburbs or in the next city that now are a huge pain to get to traffic-wise. All right? It may not be evident for you looking on a map. Like, what does this mean? Again, going back to the Bay Area, you may look at Santa Cruz on the map and think, oh, you could get there from San Jose quite easily. That stretch of the freeway, that's not very long. I can tell it's not many miles. But now the stretch of that freeway, 17, is bumper to bumper traffic almost all the time. So now that's a problem. You may think, oh, we're doing the play in London and Watford is close enough so the Watford people can come into London. London is a huge metropolis, and there are, even if you take public transportation, sometimes the transportation you don't need is on strike. There's a lot of strikes in the UK. Sometimes the train to get in is not inexpensive. You think, well, the tube is inexpensive. It might be, but does it go to that city? Or do they have to take National Rail in, which is a much more expensive ticket? Is National Rail striking? Now, in the UK, they do have scheduled strikes. You know when it's going to happen. But does the show get out so late that you've missed the trains that they don't go to that show? Do you see? I'm suggesting that if you have a play or a musical that is transferable or could take a tiny tour, you should. You should. And that other theater that now you realize is geographically, we don't get people from this area coming to our show. It's only a half an hour away. But the other theater we like, our friends, are 45 minutes away, and we know nobody comes from there to see our show, but they're a huge community, and they would do well with this piece, and they're asking for it. Why not take a tiny tour? So, because of traffic, because of construction on freeways, whatever the reason is, because of terrible weather in the winter, they can't make it to you. Why not build your play or your musical at your place and tell the other theater, let's work something out? And you may think, well, no one wants to do that. Have you asked your cast? Have you asked your crew? Have you asked the other theater? And what does it mean? You can tailor make it to whatever you think is best. All right? Now, what I'm suggesting is, say there is a play or a musical you've done and you've had a 4-week run and it's sold really well, and you've seen the emails from this other city saying, is it coming here? So you could choose to go for a week. You could choose to go for 3 performances. You could choose to build your play or musical set-wise where only the most important elements travel with that show. They know what they're getting at the other place. We couldn't bring the whole set here. It's too big. It's too cumbersome. It doesn't fit in this other theater, which might be smaller or a different configuration. We're going to bring the most important elements. Okay, what we need for the show to work. We know, the other theater knows what's going on. You're only here for 3 performances. You're only here for 6 performances. And it's between runs of their shows. So it's just a filler piece that's going to make money. And you could have pictures and a little display in the lobby of the theater. This is what the set looked like. You're not missing anything. We're just bringing the important elements. They could be a lot smaller and a lot more easy to maneuver, and they could be self-standing. The other audience knows what's up. They know it's a transfer. They're with you. They just want to see this show. Okay? Maybe your musicians can't go, and now it's time for recorded music. That's no fun, but that audience in the other place, they know what's happening. They know what they're getting into. Maybe you haven't asked your actors and performers because you just decided they can't go. Do you know that? Probably that other theater is ready for you, and they have patrons with rooms in their houses or places to share where those performers could stay. The smaller the show, the easier. There's always lots of patrons who want to host, believe it or not. And you may have an easier time finding those patrons that want to host than you think. Now, if you're a patron wanting to host and you're listening to this, good for you. We love you. Thank you. But if you've done it for the first time or the first few times, the performer entering your home is not there to amuse you or to have dinner with your guests. They have a job to do. And maybe their day job in certain places needs to be done remotely. And you get very little time with them. This is not like, an artist in residence. I get to have an artist here to entertain my friends, which happens a lot. I'll have other stories about that and what's happened to me and my friends in another video. Remember that they might be busy. They have an evening show. They've only got 3 performances. They have to get used to the new space. They have to be in the new space a lot more than you think to get used to it. Now half their set is gone, or 3/4 of their set is gone, and they have to realize how to work in this new space. Okay? There's a lot of things to do. It's not just plug it in. Oh, they're available to chat with me. Maybe not. Just be happy if they have half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the evening, and they need to go to bed. And they're very thankful for your patronage and the extra free room, your guest room in your home. Okay? That may be all they can do. Okay? I'm laughing because there's such, not horror stories, but just like, oh, they're not here to entertain your friends. They're not here to have dinner with you. They got to get to rehearsal. Why can't they have dinner at 7 with you and your guests? Because the show is at 8. Bad. Please explore this. It could be very lucrative for both theaters. You could be seen as there's the host theater and there's the primary theater. The primary theater could be seen as very, very demonstrative and wonderful. And people travel, and they may come to your theater, to your shows, and you're getting, people traveling when they can to see your matinees on the weekends, because that's easier. You're getting a whole new audience, okay? And the host theater, we know what we're doing. We brought you this thing from this other theater for 3 days. Get your tickets now. Get them early. It's going to be great. It's getting good reviews over there. We're going to have a wonderful time. Here's what we're presenting. Make a little video on Instagram or whatever your social media is to say, here's what we're presenting. We can't bring the whole set because that costs too much. We can't bring the whole set because of this. We can't bring everyone. We can't bring the musicians. It's going to be wonderful anyway, okay? Please come buy tickets. This is what we're doing. It will work. Little tiny tours. It'll work. And maybe there's more than one theater that wants to do this. It's asking a lot. Just try with one little host theater and see how it goes, okay? Lean into what's happening in your area, okay? It's a problem. How can we circumnavigate this problem? We're theater people. We're creative. We know how to fix this. We have solutions. All right? So that's my message for today. I hope you're well out there. I hope your shows are selling like crazy and that you're having a really good start to 2025. All right. We'll talk again. Thanks. Bye.